Hello everyone, this is Naren Siswa and welcome to उड़ान। As you all know, आज बाबा साहब की जयंती भी है, सो 14 अप्रैल आपको याद रखना है। डेली क्विज़ स्टार्ट करते हैं आज का। मैं कोशिश करूँगा आपको अच्छे से समझाने की। ओके, सो 14 अप्रैल बिलोंग्स टू whom? बाबा साहेब अम्बेडकर। Yes, question number 1 is consider the following statements regarding Pune Pact. Statement 1 is the Pune Pact refers to an agreement of reservation of electoral seats for the depressed classes in the legislature of British India government. Statement second is it was signed by Ambedkar on behalf of the depressed class and Mahatma Gandhi on behalf of the upper caste Hindus. Which of the following statements given above are correct? Option A 1 only, option B 2 only, option C both 1 and 2, option D neither 1 nor 2. Right answer क्या हो जाएगा? Option A. Okay, let's understand this. Yes, see, Pune Pact refers to an agreement between B.R. Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi on behalf of depressed class and upper class Hindu leaders on the reservation of electoral seats for the depressed class in the legislature of British India government. Second statement is contrary to popular belief, Gandhi was not involved in signing the pact. Okay, and it was made on 24th September 1932 at Yerwada Central Jail in Pune, India. Okay, it was signed by Ambedkar on behalf of the depressed classes and Madan Mohan Malviya on behalf of the upper class Hindus as a means to end the fast that Gandhi was undertaking in jail as a protest against the decision by British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald to give separate electorates to depressed classes for the election of members of provincial legislative assemblies in British India. They finally agreed upon 147 electoral seats. Okay, next, consider the following statements regarding judicial activism. Statement 1 is judicial activism refers to judicial rulings that are suspected of being based on existing laws rather than on personal opinion. Second statement is judicial activism is closely related to constitutional interpretation, statutory construction and separation of powers. Okay, which of the following given statements is or are correct? Option A 1 only, option B 2 only, option C both 1 and 2, option D 1 or 2. राइट आंसर क्या हो जाएगा इसका? बी. ओके, फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज रॉन्ग. ओके, एक्सप्लेन करते हैं नाउ. जुडिशियल एक्टिविज्म रेफर्स टू जुडिशियल रूलिंग्स that are suspected of being based on personal opinion rather than on existing laws. It is sometimes used as an antonym of judicial restraint. This is anonym of judicial restraint. Judicial restraint का opposite क्या है? Judicial activism. The definition of judicial activism and the specific decision that are activists are controversial political issues. The question of judicial activism is closely related to constitutional interpretation, statutory construction and separation of powers. Clear? सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर्स की बात करें तो लेजिस्लेटिव, एग्जीक्यूटिव और जुडिशरी तीनों को अलग अलग पावर है. ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 देखते हैं. कंसीडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट्स रिगार्डिंग मनरेगा. Statement first is, it is the largest work guarantee program in the world. Second statement is, it has a provision to provide time-bound guarantee of work and unemployment allowance. Third statement is, it is completely funded by central government. Which of the statements above are correct? Option A 1 and 2 only, option B 2 and 3 only, option C 1 and 3 only, option D all of the above. राइट आंसर क्या आएगा इसका? 1 and 2 only. कंप्लीटली सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा फंडेड नहीं है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट भी इसमें फंड करती है. ओके, नाउ टॉक अबाउट मनरेगा. महात्मा गांधी नेशनल रूरल डेवलपमेंट एक्ट 2005 in the recently concluded monsoon session of Parliament, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Rural Development released a report on the implementation of the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Development Act 2005. Next is very important, what are the objectives of MGNREGA? Which is the largest work guarantee program in the world, was enacted in 2005 with the primary objective of guaranteeing 100 days of wage employment per year to rural households. Next, secondary, it aims at addressing causes of chronic poverty through the works projects that are undertaken and thus ensuring sustainable development. ओके, SDG गोल्स के लिए भी इसका सहारा लिया गया था. ओके, और बिल्कुल सी जाहिर सी बात है, क्रोनिक पावर्टी कहीं ना कहीं अपलिफ्टमेंट हुई है. Finally, there is an emphasis on strengthening the process of decentralization through giving a significant role to PRIs, Panchayati Raj institutions, in planning and implementing these works. Okay, next, what are the key features? What are the key features? First is legal right to work. Unlike earlier employment guarantee schemes, the Act provides a legal right to employment for adult members of rural households. At least 1/3 beneficiaries have to be women. Wages must be paid according to the wages specified for agricultural laborer in the state under the Minimum Wages Act 1948. Unless the central government notifies a wage rate, this should not be less than rupees 60 per day. At present, wage rates are determined by the central government but vary across states, ranging from rupees 135 per day to rupees 214 per day. Next is time-bound guarantee of work and unemployment allowance. Employment must be provided with 15 days of being demanded, failing which an unemployment allowance must be given. Next is decentralized planning. What do you mean by decentralized planning? Gram Sabhas must recommend the works that are to be undertaken, and at least 50% of the works must be executed by them. PRIs are primarily responsible for planning, implementation, and monitoring of the works that are undertaken. Next is worksite facilities. All work sites should have facilities such as crèches, drinking water, and first aid. Next is transparency and accountability. There are provisions for proactive disclosure through wall writings, citizen information boards, management information system, and social audits. Social audits are conducted by Gram Sabhas to enable the community to monitor the implementation of the scheme. Next, talk about funding. Funding कहाँ से आती है? Funding is shared between the center and states. There are three major items of expenditure: wages for unskilled, semi-skilled, and skilled labor. Second is material, and third is administrative costs. The central government bears 100% of the cost of unskilled labor, 75% of the cost of semi-skilled and skilled labor, and 75% of the cost of materials, and 6% of the administrative costs. So clear this. Next is question number 4. Consider the following statements regarding Khalsa in Sikhism. First statement is Khalsa was formed by Guru Hargobind in AD 1699. Second statement is it is a group into which committed Sikhs can be initiated to demonstrate their devotion to their faith. Third statement is Kara, Kes, Kanga, Kacha, Kirpan are 5 items that considered as a uniform for Amritdhari Sikhs, also called as a Khalsa Sikhs. Which of the statements given above are correct? Option A 1 and 2 only, option B 1 and 3 only, option C 2 and 3 only, option D all of the above. So right answer is 2 and 3 only. Clear this one? Okay, explain करते हैं इसको. खालसा. खालसा के बारे में बात करें तो द खालसा was formed by Guru Gobind Singh at Vaisakhi in AD 1699. It is a group into which committed Sikhs can be initiated to demonstrate their devotion to their faith. Clear हुआ? Next बात करें the Khalsa comrades. The Khalsa comrades 5 volunteers who were prepared to offer their lives for Vaheguru and Guru Gobind Singh. Their commitment is an example of seva, a willingness to serve others without thought for your own well-being. After offering their lives to Guru Gobind Singh, the 5 volunteers were given Amrit, which is a mixture of sugar and water. They were given it in a bowl stirred by a khanda, a double-edged sword. This represented them being initiated into the Khalsa. Guru Gobind Singh then declared them the first 5 members of the Khalsa. They became known as the Panj Pyare. Remember this? Panj Pyare, the 5 beloved ones. Guru Gobind Singh and his wife were then initiated into the Khalsa. Guru Gobind Singh declared that all men who were initiated into the Khalsa would be given the name Singh, means a lion, and all women who were initiated would be given the name Kaur, meaning princess. Okay, so lion and princess, this indicates the removal of status or caste and represents equality and fairness within all humanity. Today, Sikhs who wish to become members of the Khalsa show their commitment and dedication by taking part in the Amrit Sanskar ceremony. This ceremony initiates them into the Khalsa. The 5 Ks are 5 items that are worn on the body. They can be considered a uniform of Amritdhari Sikhs, also called Khalsa Sikhs. These Sikhs outwardly show their commitment to the Sikh faith to others. However, many Sajdhari Sikhs who have not gone through the Amrit Sanskar ceremony often wear some of all of the 5 KS2. Okay, इस कृपाण स्वॉर्ड को बोलते हैं. Next is question number 5. The theme of the World Hearing Day campaign 2020 is option A, hearing the basic rights of everyone. Option B is empower everybody with hearing loss. Option C is hearing for life. Don't let hearing loss limit you. Option D is overcome the hearing limits. So right answer is option C, hearing for life. Don't let hearing loss limit you. Okay, next इस कैंपेन की बात करते हैं. The World Hearing Day is a campaign held each year by Office of Prevention of Blindness and Deafness of WHO. Next is the campaign's objective are to share information and promote actions towards the prevention of hearing loss and improved hearing care. The first event was held in 2007. Before 2016, it was known as International Ear Care Day. Remember this also. Before 2016, it was known as International Ear Care Day. Each year, the WHO selects a theme, develops educational materials, and makes these freely available in several languages. The theme of the campaign of 2020 is Hearing for Life, Don't Let Hearing Loss Limit You. Clear this one? It highlights that appropriate and timely intervention can facilitate access to education, employment, and communication. Unfortunately, across the globe, ear and hearing care are insufficient, and the WHO argues that all public health systems should include ear and hearing care. Next, question number 6 is tropical evergreen forests are found in each of the following regions of India. Option A is northern eastern region. Option B is Andaman and Nicobar. Option C is Eastern Ghats. Option D is all of the above. So right answer is option D. Okay, बात करें ट्रॉपिकल एवरग्रीन फॉरेस्ट की, कहाँ पाया जाता है? Yes, tropical evergreen forests of India are found in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the Western Ghats, which fringe the Arabian Sea, the coastline of peninsular India, and the greater Assam region in the northeast. Small remnants of evergreen forests are found in Odisha state. Semi-evergreen forest is more extensive than the evergreen formation party because evergreen forests tend to declare to semi-evergreen with human interference. There are substantial differences between the three major evergreen forest regions. Next is question number 7. Bone challenge sometimes seen in the news is related to option A, restore ecological integrity by bringing 150 million hectares of the world's deforested and degraded land into restoration by 2020. Option B is Convention on the Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals. Option C is Protect Endangered Plants and Animals. Option D is HIV Treatment and Biomedical Prevention Adherence Research. So right answer क्या है इसका? Option A. अब explain करते हैं. The Bone Challenge is a global effort to bring 150 million hectares of the world's deforested and degraded land into restoration by 2020 and 350 million hectares by 2030. It was launched in 2011 by the government of Germany and IUCN, and later endorsed and extended by the New York Declaration on Forest at the 2014 UN Climate Summit. Next is underlying the bond challenge in the forest landscape restoration (FLR) approach, which aims to restore ecological integrity at the same time as improving human well-being through multifunctional landscapes. Next is question number 8. Consider the following statement. C. Statement 1 is President can appoint a judge of the Supreme Court as an acting CJI if the office of CJI is vacant or the CJI is temporarily absent. Statement second is President can appoint a judge of a high court as an ad hoc judge of the Supreme Court for a temporary period. Which of the statements given above are correct? Option A 1 only, option B 2 only, option C both 1 and 2, option D neither 1 nor 2. राइट आंसर क्या हो जाएगा इसका? ऑप्शन बी, ऑप्शन ए. राइट आंसर क्या होगा इसका? ऑप्शन ए. स्टेटमेंट 1 इज करेक्ट. यस, एक्सप्लेन करते हैं. द प्रेसिडेंट कैन अपॉइंट अ जज ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट एज एन एक्टिंग CJI India when the office of CJI is vacant or the CJI is temporarily absent or CJI is unable to perform the duties of his office. Next, I'll talk about ad hoc judge. When there is a lack of quorum of the permanent judges to uphold or continue any session of the Supreme Court, the CJI can appoint a judge of a high court as an ad hoc judge of the Supreme Court for a temporary period. Next question is, consider the following statements. Option A is the Finance Commission under Article 280 of the Indian Constitution is a judicial body. Option B is the chairman and member of Finance Commission are appointed by the President. Option C is the chairperson and member of Finance Commission are not eligible for reappointment. Option D is none of the above. So right answer क्या है इसका? ऑप्शन बी. एक्सप्लेन करते हैं इसको. अंडर आर्टिकल 280 ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया प्रोवाइड्स फॉर फिनेंस कमीशन एज क्वासी जुडिशियल बॉडी. रिमेंबर दिस, क्वासी जुडिशियल body. It is constituted by the President of India every 5th year or at such earlier time as he considers necessary. The Finance Commission consists of a chairman and other 4 members to be appointed by the President. They hold office for such period as specified by the President in his order. They are eligible for reappointment. Okay. Next question is, which among the following are critically endangered species of vultures? A. Indian vulture. B. Slender-billed vulture. B. Slender-billed vulture. C is white-rumped vulture. D is all of the above. So right answer is all of the above. Next, very important is critically endangered species Indian vulture. Scientific name is Gyps indicus, formerly known as long-billed vulture. Next is slender-billed vulture. Scientific name is Gyps tenerotis, formerly called long-billed vultures. 97% have been wiped out by the diclofenac. Next is white-rumped vulture. Scientific name is Gibbs bengalensis, formerly known as oriental white-backed vulture. 99.9% have been wiped out by the diclofenac. Threatened species and Himalayan vulture, scientific name Gibbs himalayensis. This is also a threatened species. Okay, next I'll talk about question number 11. A corporate bond is a debt security. Statement 1 is issued by a private corporation only. Statement second is corporate bonds are considered to have a lower risk than government bonds. Which of the statements given above is are correct? Option A 1 only, option B 2 only, option C both 1 and 2, option D is neither 1 nor 2. Right answer is option D. Let's see. A corporate bond is a debt security issued by a corporation and sold to investors. The backing for the bond is usually the payment ability of the company, which is typically money to be earned from future operations. In some cases, the company's physical assets may be used as collateral for bonds. Next is corporate bonds are considered to have a higher risk than government bonds. As a result, interest rates are almost always higher on corporate bonds, even the companies with top flight credit quality. Okay, so students, over for the day, and one small suggestion for you, keep practicing more and more questions. Okay, अगर आपको टेस्ट सीरीज नहीं मिल रही है, so download our app, go to Play Store and just type Udaan Academy and you will get our app. Just download that app and you will get many test series up to discount of 99%, and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much. All for the day.